Nothing about this feels fake. Alina stood in front of the mirror in the dressing room, staring at her reflection as if she were looking at a stranger. The pale ivory gown clung to her waist gracefully, the veil cascaded down her back, and the diamond earrings shimmered like tiny stars. She looked like a real bride, far too real. "This is insane," she whispered to herself. But she didn't have a choice. She repeated that again and again like a prayer. Her younger brother, Daniel, had only a few weeks before he would need the surgery that could save his life. The hospital bill was more than anything she could ever earn working as a receptionist. So when she saw the online casting call for a staged wedding event, offering a huge payment for just a few hours of acting, she applied without thinking. She was told it was harmless. A performance, a pretend wedding to impress investors of some bridal company, a symbolic ceremony, no signing, no vows, no groom she needed to care about. Just walk the aisle, stand for photos, smile, and leave, the coordinator had said. Simple, mechanical, fake. But when she stepped into the gigantic hall, she felt her lungs tighten. Nothing looked fake. The marble floors shone like liquid glass. The massive chandelier above glittered in golden swirls. Every seat was filled with elegantly dressed guests, whispering, smiling, watching. "Why are there real guests?" she murmured. "Because it's a high-profile event," the coordinator lied smoothly, adjusting her veil. "Don't worry, they all know it's staged." But they didn't look like they knew. They looked emotional, too invested. Some women were wiping tears, others clasped their hands in excitement. Alina tried to calm herself. She reminded herself of the money. Money for Daniel. That was the only reason she was here. Still, something felt wrong. The air felt heavy, charged. Like everyone here knew something she didn't. "The groom will arrive shortly. Please stand ready," the coordinator said before rushing off. Groom? What groom? She was told she wouldn't even meet him properly. Heart racing, she took one step back, then another. Maybe she should run. Maybe she should leave in. The grand double doors opened. The entire hall turned silent. He walked in, tall, broad-shouldered, powerful. His black suit fit him like it was crafted around his very bones. His presence filled the room in a way that made it impossible to look anywhere else. And his eyes, dark, intense, were fixed on her from the moment he entered. Alina's breath caught in her throat. He wasn't an actor. He wasn't part of a staged event. He was too real. He walked straight toward her, each step slow, controlled, confident. She felt the world shrink with every inch he crossed. When he finally stood in front of her, he spoke in a calm voice that vibrated with authority. "You're late." Alina blinked. I didn't know." He leaned in slightly. "You're nervous." Of course she was. She felt like she was trapped in someone else's life. "You're not an actor," she whispered. He raised an eyebrow. "Do I look like one?" "Then who are you?" she breathed. He didn't answer. Instead, he extended his arm. Shall we, what? Walk the aisle. Begin this fake wedding." Before she could question him, the musicians began playing. The violins filled the hall with a soft, romantic melody that made everything more surreal. Alina glanced around. The guests stood. Cameras flashed. Everyone was watching. She couldn't breathe. "What is happening?" she whispered, stepping closer to him. He lowered his head slightly, bringing his lips near her ear. His voice was low, almost dangerous. "Don't worry, nothing will be cancelled." Her blood ran cold. Cancelled? Why would anything need to be cancelled? This was supposed to be fake. A performance. Nothing real at stake. But the tone of his voice, the certainty, the finality. It terrified her. As they walked down the aisle, Alina looked for signs, anything, to tell her this was still part of the script. But the guests were whispering emotionally. Some were crying. The decorations were too perfect. The photographers too professional. The hall too expensive. Nothing about this felt staged. The closer they got to the altar, the heavier her chest became. "I need to ask," she whispered urgently. "This ceremony, it's symbolic, right? Fake." The man beside her didn't blink. "Do you really believe that?" Her heart pounded so hard she felt it in her throat. "That's what I was told." He exhaled softly. "You were told what you needed to hear." The words struck her like a physical blow. "What does that mean?" she demanded, voice shaking. But he didn't answer. He simply guided her to the front, his grip steady as if he feared she'd collapse or flee. At the altar, the officiant smiled warmly. "We are gathered today to celebrate the union of..." Union. Alina flinched. She pulled her hand from the groom's grip, taking a step back. Wait, this isn't real. I was told this is fake. I'm not actually. The guests gasped. A few whispered in shock. The groom, who still hadn't told her his name, turned toward her slowly. His eyes softened, but there was something else there too. Something like determination, or possession. Alina, he said quietly, this is real. Her breath caught. No, she whispered. No, no, I can't. This wasn't the agreement. He came closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. You came because you needed the money. She stiffened. How do you know that? He didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, he leaned even closer, his voice almost gentle. I'm not here to hurt you. Then what do you want? She whispered, voice trembling. He looked into her eyes with a depth that made her forget the room, the guests, the chandeliers, everything. You, he said simply. Her heart stopped. Before she could speak, he took her trembling hand again. His grip was warm, firm, impossible to pull away from. Trust me, he murmured. After today, everything in your life will change. His words terrified her more than anything else. Because deep down, she knew he wasn't lying. And nothing, absolutely nothing, about this wedding felt fake anymore. You were chosen, Alina. The murmurs in the wedding hall grew louder. Guests exchanged confused looks, unsure why the bride appeared terrified and the groom so calm. Alina's pulse hammered in her ears as she stared at the man standing beside her, the man who had just told her the wedding was real. I don't understand, she whispered, voice shaking. Why me? Why bring me here like this? His jaw tightened slightly, but his eyes softened as if he expected this moment. Alina, he murmured, just breathe. I can't, she snapped under her breath. I was hired for a fake ceremony. This is insane. Before he could answer, the officiant cleared his throat politely. Shall we continue? No. Alina stepped back again, her voice echoing across the hall. Gasps rose from the audience. Someone whispered, is she running? She might have, if the man hadn't gently caught her wrist, not forcefully, not painfully, but with a certainty that pinned her in place. Please, he said quietly, just listen. She yanked her hand away. I don't even know your name. He blinked once, as if surprised she didn't. Then he stepped closer, offering a small, almost regretful smile. My name is Adrian Cross. The name hit her like a wave. She had heard it before. Who hadn't? Adrian Cross, cold, brilliant, ruthless millionaire. The man who rarely appeared in public. The CEO of Cross Enterprises. The man whose face was always hidden behind headlines, wealth, and mystery. She stared at him in shock. You're that Adrian Cross? He nodded slightly. But why would someone like you drag me into a real wedding? She asked, voice thin and trembling. He took a deep breath. Because I needed a woman who wasn't after my fortune. Someone who didn't try to impress me. Someone honest. That doesn't explain anything, she cried. He held her gaze, and for a moment, she saw something she never expected in a man like him. Fear, not of her, but of losing her. Alina, he said, you saved my sister. She froze. What? His voice lowered. 6 months ago, on the road near the market. A car nearly hit her. You pushed her out of the way and got injured. Memory flashed in her mind. Rainy evening, a little girl slipping on the wet road, car brakes screeching, her own body throwing itself forward. I remember that, Alina whispered. But, she ran away before I even asked if she was okay. She ran to tell me, Adrian said softly. She described you perfectly. Alina's throat tightened. And what did I do? Nothing. I didn't even know she was related to you. That's the point, he said, eyes shining. You didn't wait for money. You didn't wait for thanks. You didn't take the reward we sent. She stiffened. Reward? What reward? He exhaled. I sent someone to your building with an envelope. You weren't home. They left it with your landlord. He kept it. Alina felt her chest burn. That explained too many things. Her landlord's sudden expensive purchases, his new bike, the luxury watch he arrogantly showed her. I didn't know, she whispered, voice cracking. I know you didn't, Adrian replied. That's why I searched for you. You disappeared. No social media, no connections. You changed jobs. You kept moving, surviving quietly. His words held no judgment, only admiration. But I finally found you, he continued, struggling to pay your brother's hospital bills, working 2 shifts, breaking yourself just to keep him alive. Her eyes widened. How do you know? I looked. Adrian said simply. I had to be sure you were the same woman. The woman who saved my sister. The woman who never asked for anything. Emotion twisted inside her. Anger, fear, confusion, gratitude, pain. It was too much. So you, what, created a fake wedding job to trap me? She asked bitterly. Not to trap you, he corrected softly. To bring you into my world, gently. Gently, she repeated incredulously. This is gentle, he sighed, guilt flickering across his face. I didn't want to scare you. I didn't want you to say no before hearing the truth. And the truth is what? She whispered. That I chose you, he said, voice barely audible. I wanted you to be my wife. Her breath left her body. But why? She demanded. You don't know me. He hesitated. I know enough. Adrian, I know you're stubborn, he continued. I know you value people more than money. I know you're brave enough to save a stranger. I know you cry silently because you don't want your brother to worry. I know you'd sacrifice your own dreams for someone you love. His voice trembled, just slightly. And I know, he whispered, that you would never marry me if I asked you directly. You'd reject me and disappear again. Alina stared at him, stunned. Speechless. He wasn't wrong. If he'd approached her normally, she would have thought he was insane, or worse, dangerous. But a real wedding, she said desperately. Adrian, how can you expect me to? Alina, he said gently, cutting her off. Your brother's surgery is fully paid. This morning, her world stopped. I cleared the hospital bill, Adrian continued. I hired the best surgeon. He's in safe hands. Alina's knees weakened. He stepped forward, catching her gently before she collapsed. No, she whispered, tears spilling. You didn't. You shouldn't have. I did, he said firmly. Not as payment, not as a deal. He cupped her face carefully. But because it's what family does. And I intend for you to be mine. Her heart clenched in her chest. The hall was silent. Even the guests seemed to sense the truth unfolding between them. I'm not prepared for this, she said weakly. I know, Adrian admitted. And I don't expect you to love me today. Or tomorrow. I only ask for one thing. Her lips trembled. What? Give this a chance. His voice was deep, raw, vulnerable. Give us a chance. He took her hand again, warm and steady. And if after a month, you decide to leave, he added softly, I will let you go. No pressure, no contracts, just freedom. Alina swallowed hard. You'd really let me go? Yes. He paused. But I pray you won't. She stared at him, at his honesty, his intensity, his impossible kindness hidden beneath power and wealth. And for the first time since the ceremony began, her fear slowly eased. Painfully, cautiously, hope crept in. Adrian, she whispered. He raised her hand to his chest, right over his heartbeat. Just say the words, he murmured. Not for the guests, not for my status, for me. Her vision blurred with tears. This man wasn't forcing her. He was pleading, not as a millionaire, but as a man who believed she mattered. Slowly, trembling, she nodded. The hall held its breath. She inhaled shakily. I do. Relief crashed across Adrian's face like light breaking through storm clouds. The guests erupted into applause, some cheering, some crying, all witnessing a story none of them could fully understand. Adrian pulled her into a gentle embrace, whispering into her hair. You won't regret this, I promise you. And deep inside her heart, Alina felt the shift too. Maybe this wedding wasn't the end of her freedom. Maybe it was the beginning of a life she never dared dream of.